Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Gaming News, where we cover everything we can in 1 week surrounding video games. And this week we have quite the doozy. So, we're just going to start off with the first topic, which is AdvancedGG. They posted this tweet on August 16th that AdvancedGG will be exercising the right to terminate our relationship with Hush due to negative conduct that is in breach of our partner code of conduct. A further statement will be issued on other matters. Then, not long after that, they did release an official announcement, which is the decision to end a partnership is never easy. All partners are meant to be mutually supporting relationships. Brands aim to help lift a partner, and partners aim to help lift a brand. Yesterday, comments made by a partner were brought to our attention that did not meet our code of conduct. These posts occurred in 2013 and 2015. While these posts happened a number of years ago, their content created a substantial discomfort among customers and other partners. In this case, there were uses of slurs we could not ignore and that were objectively wrong to use in any context, and efforts to clarify the situation with the partner were unsuccessful. Based on this, continuing a relationship meant to be mutually supportive was no longer feasible. This is not about cancel culture. We do not believe that people should be permanently judged solely on singular actions and that no one is beyond reproach or the ability to change. It is about ending up in a situation where a reasonable relationship can no longer be maintained. We have all made mistakes and done things we are not proud of or are possibly no longer acceptable. That is not weakness, that is life. The ending of a partnership is not an attack on character, nor should it be used as one. It is not a license to harass anyone, nor should it be seen as a judgment on their level of change or growth. Our decision today is a reflection only of the requirements we face to continue a balanced relationship with our community of customers and partners. Thank you very much for your time and consideration. Now, what this is about is a streamer content creator named BlameHush, who I do know through the Destiny community, at least in terms of I know their reputation. And it is true to say that people do change over time and that perhaps comments made in 2013 and 2015 were not reflective of the person that BlameHush is today. However, they clarified in the statement that they tried to speak to the creator to find out more information about the context or reasoning behind some of the statements made and trying to see if the person had indeed changed their ways over years. And unfortunately, this did not appear to be the case. And so they terminated the relationship that they had with this partner. And I have to say, good for them for sticking to their guns and, representing their brand accordingly and making sure that people understood that this was not the result of trying to take away another opportunity for the content creator to make money, to garner sponsors or anything like that. But that they reached out to try and find a solution, that they talked to the content creator and wanted to understand if they had indeed changed over the course of time, and that simply was not the case from my understanding of this official post. And I think that this is important to do. I feel as though we should be allowing people to speak and talk about what decisions they have made and statements they have made and give them the chance to change that behavior and change their language and understand and become better people by saying something is inappropriate. And this is exactly the thought process that the Advanced GG crew decided to go with. And I am 100% for this. And I have to say, good for them for making this decision. It couldn't have been easy. AdvancedGG is a very big sponsor for a lot of people, and I am glad that they took this approach instead of just automatically assuming, based on posts from previously, that they had this conversation instead of just blanketly terminating the relationship. Rarely do people extend the opportunity for people to actually change their behaviors, and this just is one step towards understanding and becoming better as people, in my opinion. Next up, we have information about Among Us and Fortnite, and they are two very different games, very different development studios, and unfortunately, they came colliding this week as we discovered that Fortnite released a new video for a new mode in the game. And unfortunately, it collided massively with Innersloth, who are the creators of Among Us. So, the Among Us devs speak out about Fortnite's controversial imposters mode. Some of the people behind indie hit Among Us have spoken out about Fortnite's new imposter mode. Yesterday, Fortnite developer Epic announced a new game mode for its all-encompassing Battle Royale that has an uncanny resemblance to 2018 online multiplayer social deduction game Among Us. Fortnite Imposters sees 10 players, 8 agents, and 2 imposter play out their roles on a submarine. Like in Among Us, the agents carry out routine assignments while the imposters sabotage the facility and eliminate players. Imposters can also teleport players to cover their tracks and disable assignments. And just like Among Us, agents can call for a discussion at any time by finding and reporting an eliminated agent or interacting with the discussion panel. During discussions, agents and imposters can share information with each other via emotes and brand new quick chat menu, asking contextual questions about who was doing what and accusing suspicious candidates for ejection. At the end of each discussion, agents and imposters vote to either eject someone or skip their vote. As news of the new mode spread online, some of the people behind Among Us expressed their disappointment on social media. It would have been really, really cool to collab, haha, tweeted Among Us community director Victoria Tran. Just sad indie hours right now. Then, like game mechanics, fine. Those shouldn't be gate-kept, but at the very least, even different themes or terminology makes things more interesting. Innersloth's lead Unity program, Adriel Wallach, expressed her disappointment via a webcomic, which was actually a very interesting webcomic. And more people talking about how they were very disappointed. These are all people that work for Innersloth that were slighted by this very obvious ripoff. In writing, we call this plagiarism, and it's no different when it comes to video games. And yes, Epic Games does have a lot of money, does have power hits like Rocket League and Fortnite, and are just destroying it with allowing people to get free games each week on a what seems to be a roulette table. And this by stealing the entire concept of a game and not even changing the concept in any way and putting it into your battle royale is just gross. It is disgusting that they even did this. And while I like Epic and I like a lot of things that they do, this was not it. And you It chose an indie dev to rip off because they obviously saw some great success and you wanted some of that pie. And instead of trying to collaborate with them, work with them in some capacity to do something really cool, you just decided to rip the carpet out from under them. And that is wrong. And that is terrible. And I hate you for it. Jump off a bridge or something, figuratively. I don't mean actually. Next up, we have information about Riot. Riot misled staff about their right to speak out on harassment and discrimination. The California Department of Fair Employment and Housing, the same agency suing Activision Blizzard over what it alleges to be a frat boy culture that created a breeding ground for harassment and discrimination against women, said League of Legends maker Riot failed to tell its staff of their right to speak to the government about harassment and discrimination. The DFEH filed its own lawsuit against Riot in February. The DFEH has now asked the courts to compel Riot Games Incorporated's compliance with the court June 4th, 2021 order requiring the company to send a notice to its workers about their right to speak with the DFEH. The notice advises workers of their right to speak freely with the government about unlawful workplace practices and participate in DFEH pending action without fear of retaliation, regardless of non-disclosure terms in their settlement agreements, they said. In 2018, the U.S. government launched a company-wide investigation of sexual harassment, sex discrimination, and sexual assault at Riot Games. A year later, Riot announced it had reached secret settlement agreements with approximately 100 women who waived their claims and rights without notice of the government's actions. The DFEH said it was alarmed by language in Riot's settlement and separation agreements that suggested employees could not voluntarily and candidly speak with the government about sexual harassment and other violations. This is quite terrible because we have covered the topic of Riot before and how there's been this massive fallout and how Riot was sued, went to court, settled for, I want to say it was like a couple $1 million, but given the amount of people who were directly affected and the amount of time would not have actively covered appropriately the amount of compensation that these people would be due for such egregious crimes. And it went back to court, and the courts agreed that the compensation value was not enough and that they were going to do something. And at the same time, Riot revised their policy and said that they would do better and change their practices so that women would feel more comfortable working at the studio. And while I don't have insider information or anything, but based on everything that we've seen to this point, if they have been secretly settling with women so that they don't go to court and so that their egregious activities are not seen by the general public, this just goes to show that Riot is no better than any other company, which we will get to in just a minute. And I just really hate all of this, and I am glad that the DFEH is stepping in more of these cases and finally holding these companies accountable. And if we're going to change the gaming industry for the better, we need to start getting rid of all of the people who are facilitating this kind of behavior. Hopefully, members that work for Riot will understand that they have some form of recourse and that they don't have to stand for what Riot is trying to do by covering up their mess. And hopefully things will start to change, but it's going to take some time, as I've previously stated in other videos. I'm just hoping that more is done for these people, for these women, because right now a lot of gaming companies have massive targets on their head. And while we're talking about massive targets on their head, let's talk about Ubisoft. Ubisoft has some issues with sexual harassment as well. A watchdog has launched an investigation into Ubisoft Singapore over alleged unfairness and sexual harassment. According to an investigation by Kotaku, staff at Ubisoft Singapore, which is home to around 500 staff and is currently working on the troubled Skull and Bones, allegedly suffered from sexual harassment, racial pay disparities, and bullying by managers, as well as bad projects and toxic leaders. Now, in a report by the Straits Times, an English language daily broadcast newspaper based in Singapore, the national watchdog for fair employment practices has launched an investigation into Ubisoft Singapore over the claims. And again, we're looking at a situation where the gaming industry is no longer going to sit back and allow this behavior to continue. Gamers and women are no longer allowing companies to steamroll over them and pay them less money and treat them like dirt and give them extra work. All of this is coming to light more so because of the DFEH's involvement with Activision Blizzard and the things that have happened there. It has caused the ball to continue to roll down the mountain and reveal all of these practices, all of these game developers and studios that people held up on pedestals are not as nice and good as you think they are. And people need to start realizing that this is not acceptable, that people are not just going to take it anymore, that they deserve to be treated equally and not to be treated as pieces of meat. And the fact that we're talking about Riot, we're talking about Ubisoft, and in just a moment we're going to talk about Activision Blizzard once again, because the gaming industry is bringing out all of the really bad apples, and we're only in August of 2021. Just let that sink in. This has been going on for years, and only now is the greater gaming populace becoming more aware of what they can do to combat these big corporations that are trying to screw them over left, right, and center, sometimes very literally. And while we're talking about screwing people over, let's move right on to our favorite topic, Activision Blizzard. God damn it. Here we are again. Activision Blizzard accused of routinely dead-naming trans staff. Do I really need to go any further than this? They have been calling people by their birth name, even if they are transitioning, even if they have legally changed their names, that people at Activision Blizzard are still calling people incorrectly, probably misgendering them, misnaming them, and it's not a good look for them. They're trying to pick up the pieces and trying to make it look good, and here's another report showing that they're clearly not doing a good job, because this continues to happen where we get more and more information about shit that Blizzard does when they think the rest of the world isn't looking. And it's ridiculous and it's awful, and I really wish that Activision Blizzard would screw off with their bullshit. But unfortunately, things just continue to get worse, for Activision Blizzard because I also came across this article, which is very bad. A man was arrested after an Overwatch and Halo voice actor was murdered in Brazil. The man has been arrested by Brazilian police on suspicion of the murder of Christian Luiz, a Brazilian voice actor whose career included such roles as Mercy in Overwatch and Cortana in Halo. Christiane Louise was 49 years old, and her death was announced on August 6 by fellow voice actor Mario on Instagram. A machine translator of the image text reads, "It is with a bleeding soul that I announce the departure of Christiane Louise. I love you forever." Christiane Louise had been a voice actor and dubber since 1994 and, as well as many screen roles, was the Portuguese voice actor for Mercy in Overwatch, Cortana in Halo, Severe in League of Legends, Bayonetta, and dozens of other roles. A site dedicated to voice dubs posted the following tribute showcasing some of her best-known roles. And that is disgusting. For as much as Activision Blizzard has screwed up a lot of things, for as much as Riot Games has gone through some difficult situations as well, all because of sexual harassment and mistreatment of women, this is not the way. You can hate the game, you can dislike a developer, you can go and boycott, and you can do a whole bunch of things to express your displeasure, but I do not believe that violence or murder or anything is ever warranted, ever. And this woman was simply a contracted voice actor of a fictional character, a character that doesn't even exist, and some 27-year-old guy decided he was so angry that he went after a voice actor and got caught. And I am incredibly glad that he got caught, but this is not the way to do it. You can rage on forums and on Reddit or Twitter or wherever the heck you want to rage about something, but do not ever go after people just because they took on a job. You wouldn't even have some of these games if some of these people didn't exist, and if you continually go after them physically, you're not going to have anything left. So rage about that. Now, the next thing that I would like to cover is something that is potentially good news until I investigated further. We are excited to announce that we've been acquired by Roblox and that we'll be continuing on our mission with more resources and support than ever before. Gilded has always been about you and your community, so I want to start by addressing what this means for you. In the short answer is nothing. Everyone, including communities, partners, and bot developers, will be able to keep using Gilded the same way you are now. In the long term, this means that we'll be able to improve Gilded even faster, and that we'll be able to take on more ambitious projects than before. We're going to continue to take on ambitious projects because we have an ambitious mission to build the world's best communication platform for you and your communities. Roblox believes in our team and in our mission, and we're going to continue to operate as an independent product in order to achieve it. The entire Gilded team is excited about this next step and what it means for our communities. And above all, we're thankful for the opportunity to continue to work with all of you, and we're excited to keep building great things together. If you have any questions, please reach out and let us know. Now, this on the surface seems actually quite interesting because Gilded for quite some time was going to be the place that some of us were considering when Discord may have been purchased by Microsoft. And While I am fine with having alternatives that do a lot of great things and have a lot of really cool features that I hope that Discord will embrace down the road and make it a one-stop shop for literally everything in terms of video gaming. I came across some stuff about Roblox because it's not really a game or a fandom that I've really engaged with, and I found some kind of slightly disturbing things. So, this is an article from 2019 in March, talking about how Roblox is trying to create kinder communities. It's one of the first things Roblox VP of Marketing and Community Safety, Tammy, tells Game Industry Biz when we sat down with her at February's DICE Summit in Las Vegas to talk about the idea of digital civility, one her company championed earlier this year with the appointment of Laura Higgins as its Director of Community Safety and Digital Civility. But it's become apparent in the gaming industry itself, there are a lot of gaming companies we're talking to that really understand the need to bolster practices on creating civility online. Why do people play games? For fun. People do it as an escape, a getaway. It's fun, relaxing, but if it becomes too toxic, the industry suffers as a whole. And I agree with this because obviously they continue. If there's a bad actor that comes onto the platform, the industry in general bans, she says. They give a 1-day ban or a 2-day ban. If it's really a violation of their terms of use, they will completely axe them off the platform. Industry wide, people are still following some of those legacy behaviors. Hopefully, moving forward, we can be more proactive at employing more positive, incentivized features and policies that will encourage more positive behavior overall. Banning is ineffective for changing behavior, arguing that doing so just makes problems for other people in the industry. And in general, I actually agree with this statement. But then you consider how much of a reputation that Roblox has by looking at articles like this from June 10th, where music publishers sue Roblox in $200 million copyright infringement lawsuit. And we can see that Fortnite also did have a lawsuit over a couple of dance moves that were taken, and they did not have the rights to use those things in their games. And we see a lot of this with the music industry in general. So it's not just the music itself, but sometimes it's also the specific moves and whatnot. And it's harder and harder to now figure out licensing. So, the National Music Publishers Association has sued the popular gaming platform Roblox for copyright infringement on behalf of several music publishers in a lawsuit seeking $200 million in damages. The association alleges that Roblox actively encourages its players to utilize music from artists like Imagine Dragons, Ed Sheeran, Ariana Grande, and others without paying appropriate licensing fees. That Roblox's platform has become a repository for sharing unlicensed commercial music is no accident, according to the lawsuit. Roblox actively encourages its users to upload and share popular music to make the game on its platform more appealing and attractive to its young audience, fully aware that it has not obtained the necessary permissions. And then we continue to look at current day, where Roblox sees net losses for Q2 of 2021, struggling with toxic player generated content. So we've got a bunch of Roblox news on deck today. First, there's the Q2 investors report. Readers will remember that in Q1, the company behind the game had just gone public and was just issuing its first earnings report, which was eye-opening as it reported gross revenues of $387 million, but net losses of 134.2 million. This quarter, the company hauled in 454.1 million in gross revenues and a net loss of 140 million. That's concerning. But once again, the company is reporting to stockholders that its engagement and daily active users are at their highest ever, which caused analysis to bump up their predictions for the stock. Second, the company has acquired Gilded, which is a chat company we've covered that raised 7 million from investors in 2020. And finally, we've come to the "this is why we can't have nice things" portion of our report, as The Verge has a piece up on how Roblox players are using the game to construct reenactments of scenes of mass murder, including the Christchurch shooting in 2019. Roblox says it has no tolerance for maps like that, but one Anti-Defamation League researcher keeps finding examples that have somehow made it through moderation. And I have to say, if we're going to talk about toxic gaming communities, Roblox is definitely on the radar. And remember how I talked about there are many, many gaming companies right now that have a massive target on their forehead. We're looking at multiple big name gaming companies that are getting away with egregious activities, and in some cases allowing their users to engage in these really bad practices so that maybe they have a scapegoat. And this is unacceptable. This is what we have to change. And while I want to give Gilded some credit and I want them to be good competitors and that it will maybe force Discord to do different things and to become better, much like I want to see a good competitive platform for something like Twitch, because that is how you foster change and evolve your brand into something that people really want to use. If you don't have competition, then you don't have incentive to do those things. And in this case, we're looking at a lot of different companies that need a swift kick in the ass and realization that if you do not fix your shit, you're gonna go down. And now I'm just very concerned about the status of Gilded, because while in the short term this can be extremely good for Gilded to remain independent and to still provide the resources and features that they have, even if you look at this more in terms of a financial benefit, I still feel like this is a bit of a risky move for Gilded specifically. I don't know how this is going to turn out, but it's certainly a topic that we're going to keep our eyes on. So, with all of that said, thank you so much for being part of Patreon and following me through all of these news items. I know there was a lot to cover today, but they all seem to intersect on a very big topic that is clearly extremely important for many of us in the gaming industry. And hopefully we start to see some major changes in a lot of these companies, and that we progress forward in the gaming industry instead of 500 feet backwards. So with that, thank you so much for watching these videos. I hope you have enjoyed the content today, and remember, I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.